Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here. Don't forget to subscribe. But today, we got to talk about the real April Fool, and that would be Google's AI overview. Now, Zoe Ahmed of TechSpot had a really good write-up on this, and for this, we're heading over to talk about the Welsh, because every April 1st, Welsh journalist Ben Black basically loves pulling off a prank on his readers in his community news site known as the Cwm Bran Life. Now, Cwm Bran, and I did look it up, and I do believe I'm pronouncing that correctly because Welsh is a very interesting language. I do believe that is the correct name of his town. Now, he's 48 years old, and he's been basically doing April Fool's Day hoaxes for multiple years that range from hilarious to just totally absurd. Now, here's where this gets interesting, because back in 2020, he made up a story about Cwm Bran, essentially setting a Guinness World Record for having the most roundabouts per square kilometer, which then took on a life of its own. A day after it went live, basically he had to update the article to clarify that it was an April Fool's joke. Remember, this is 5 years ago. So that didn't stop, for the record, a more prominent publication from picking up the story and publishing it as actual news. And what makes this worse is that Mr. Black actually requested the site take the story down for obvious reasons, and the site refused, and that essentially was human error. Now, fast forward to today, 2025, we're a couple days past April Fool's Day, and Mr. Black was shocked to find that Google's AI overview had used his fake story as the basis for its summary and presented it as fact. While it's not obviously dangerous misinformation, it's a kind of a silly thing, the incident is a prime example of how fake news can spread even from trusted sources. And I quote, "It's really scary that someone Googling road in Wales would come across my made-up story and believe it." That is Ben Black talking to the BBC. Now, we've obviously all seen amusing mistakes by Google's AI overview. One of my favorite ones is when it basically authoritatively told users that eating one rock a day was good for your health, and that was thanks to an Onion article, the satirical news site in the United States, and it simply didn't understand it was satire, and so yeah, according to the authorities, we should be eating one rock a day. But honestly, joking aside, there is a bigger issue here longitudinally that needs addressing, and Mr. Black actually parroted those concerns in his interview. And essentially, I've been talking about this for a while, because he also feels that an incident like this exposes how AI also represents a growing threat to small independent publishers. While major outlets can strike very lucrative deals to collaborate with AI companies, the smaller one, and Cwm Bran looks incredibly small when I put it on Google Maps, they get left out, right? And their original content that gets mined with and essentially repurposed without permission. Think about all of the content that I have created, the articles I've written for Forbes or Smerconish, these videos, all of that is AI fodder, and I'm putting it out to the world, and they don't necessarily have my permission. Now, I may be publishing these for the world for everybody to learn and ingest, but these are the kinds of things that I think there's a fine line between. Large language models are likely aware of these well-known examples, and perhaps others treat them differently than real news, but considering that Cwm Bran Life is an actual news site, not satire, the AI couldn't tell the difference, and so it took the prank seriously. And so that's really one of those things. And unfortunately, by virtue of this, Ben Black stopped doing April Fool's Day pranks because he didn't want to put out demonstrably false information. And he had no intent of doing that. He made a joke. We all make jokes on April Fool's Day. And so maybe developers should program large language models to basically look for further context, or maybe just don't pick up anything that's published on April 1st. I think this is one of those things where maybe we need some kind of standard, because the other side of this is that absolute spew of misinformation and disinformation that we have out there. There are going to be people out there that may want to visit Cwm Bran to see all of the roundabouts, not realizing that this is fake, even though he corrected his article and say, hey guys, this is satire. But the AI is not telling you that. So this is a big issue, and we have a huge issue with misinformation and disinformation, and I think maybe what it's going to come down to is everybody just labeling in some way, shape, or form, maybe in the metadata, that, hey, this is a satirical site or a satirical article. On top of it, we should also have, I think, good reference flows to ensure that if our satire gets published by a legitimate news source, that they're going to take that seriously, the legitimate news source, and then label it a satire or remove the article so it doesn't confuse the AI, because obviously if it's coming from like the BBC or wherever, it's going to sound a lot more authoritative than a little publication called Qumran Life. So there you go, my thoughts of the day, but this is a long-term problem, and I don't think we've got a good answer just yet. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, where the AIs are learning. Same with YouTube and probably my Blue Sky and Mastodon account, where you should also follow me. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private, safe, and informed. Take care.